My husband and I purchased these Airstone stones to put around our fireplace this weekend. It's actually a really easy system to use. We laid them out on our floor first. We have two different colors, Autumn Mountain and Spring Creek, that we combined. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle. All you have to do is glue them to your wall. My husband's in the middle of putting them up right now.
Liquid nails.
This is the adhesive we're using. You just find the next color stone you want. This is our progress so far. We spent about probably 4 or 5 hours on it yesterday. This is really the only other tool you need in case you have to cut some of the pieces, and they're really easy to cut. Brian's going to cut a piece right now. They're really dusty, so you should do this outside.
Oh, there we go.
Here's the cut piece.
I always try and bevel it down on the back edge. That way it's just easier to when you pop it in.
Yep.
You got more likely to have it fit first time.
Now we'll go inside and watch him put it up. Checks if it fits. It fits. Put the adhesive on the back.
Not that much.
And then pop it in place. And you only have to, we only tried to cut one piece per row. All the other ones we jigsawed together.
You got to keep checking level as you're going.
Yes.
It's pretty close. If you get one, and you need to bring up an end, I was cutting these into strips. And then cutting little tiny pieces that I could just stack up, because you don't want to bring it up too much in one shot, because you'll leave a gap. So if you notice you're running downhill, start bringing it up little by little on each course until you get it even again. The good thing about these stones is because they're not symmetrical, they're all different widths, and it's very forgiving. You know, you can't tell really. If you make a mistake, you can't even hardly see it.
They're really lightweight too. So you don't have to worry about putting them on directly on drywall. So far,
The first course is
love
the
it.
most important. You got to get that right.
And
we had
level.
a problem down here where we were coming off of this and this, so we just started right off the floor with the first course with big ones, and then you have to get these cut, you know, length and width to get it perfectly level. It took a little bit of time to get the first course down. Once you get the first course down and it's level, it goes pretty quick after that. If you have a vise, it's easy to use. Some of the cuts, it's easier to do in a vise, but you want to make sure that you use a rag or something around the stone so you don't mark it up. Because I mean, you can snap these with your hand. They're pretty light and they're
good point.
pretty fragile. So you drop one, you'll break it. So you do have to have a little bit of care. All right, this is the blade. It's a DW 4725. It's 4.5. Depends on what size grinder you got, whether you're 4 or 4.5. Mine's got a 7/8 arbor. You look on the back, they tell you what they're used for. But here's the DW 4725. Stone, brick, stuff like that. And the blade looks like this. And it's got these serrations around it. And you can use these like this to sand down the edges if they're too big. But you have to be careful because it really takes it all fast. very light pressure. Alright, so we got to span a gap where the television is. So we got a little piece of angle here. Pick this up at Home Depot or Lowe's. We're going to have to find the studs. Using a level, we already got it level. We're just going to put this underneath here. Looks like we're going to be able to catch only 2 of the studs, but that should be enough. And then we'll just use longer blocks over top here to span the gap. I just wanted to finish up this video, this project with a little bit of notes and maybe some encouragement. If you're somebody who's halfway decent, halfway a little bit handy, this is pretty easy. I mean, honestly, it was almost like playing with Legos. The hardest part was cutting the pieces to fit, and the nice thing was you could cut them a little bit big, trim them down so you could get a perfect fit on each one that you had to cut. So if you're thinking about it, and this might be a project that you had a use for, I would encourage you to go ahead and try it on your own. I mean, I was really pleased with it. I don't think I've ever done a project that was so simple that the results were so dramatic. And people come in the house now and they see it and they think it was like some big endeavor, and it wasn't. It was pretty easy. So I also wanted to show the video had a real quick shot of the Loctite we used. It wasn't liquid nails, it was Loctite, and this was the adhesive. Honestly, I don't think it matters. Any kind of construction adhesive that's good for drywall is probably going to be fine. This just happened to be in the area where they were selling the stone, and they also sell kind of like a plaster, comes in a bucket. You can use that too, but man, this was easy, so I would highly recommend this. The couple drawbacks, if you have to cut them and you don't have a grinder, they do sell a hacksaw, and you can buy a masonry blade. I'd imagine that you'd probably be pretty tired after you cut something that size, all those blocks. So borrow a grinder, rent a grinder. It made the job go so much easier. We also didn't do this in one day. This took a day and a half. It was a Saturday and half a Sunday. And I was a little bit leery of going too high up the wall, you know, with the weight and everything, and the adhesive still setting up. So we went up about halfway, let that go overnight, and the next day we took it up the rest of the way. I'm not saying you couldn't do an entire shot like that in one day, but I wouldn't want to push it, especially after you spend all that time cutting blocks and getting everything to fit right. When you do put the adhesive on the blocks too, you got to be careful and just put it in the center of the block. You don't want to get it near the edges, because when you push the block on the wall, it's going to spread it out. And if you've ever worked with liquid nails or any kind of construction adhesive like that, it's very messy once it gets anywhere you don't want it to get. It's very messy. Just looking at my notes here, see what else I had. The ones we got were just for a straight wall. They do make ones, this Airstone, that will go around corners, and they have formed pieces that fit around the corner. From what my wife was telling me, if you get the formed corners, you also get finished ends. If you just get the straights like we did, because we were just doing in between the two, you don't get finished edges. So I'll show you in the corner here where there's no wall, there's a rough edge up there. And I'm probably just going to take a piece of quarter round, paint it the same color as the wall, and just nail that up there and call it a day. It's not something that's super noticeable, but you know, it would have been nice if they did have some finished edges. So, but very pleased with it, with the way it came out. And like I said, when it comes down to skill level, this didn't take much skill at all. Basically, this was like, you know, back in grade school, cutting stuff out and gluing it to a piece of paper. That's how simple it was. So you got any questions, or you need to know anything else about how we did it, drop me a comment and I'll answer it.